All right, good morning. This is Phil doing just a quick fast feed to show a really cool new feature that we have here. Joining me is my local teammate and friend, Josh Sillers, with collaboration at Cisco. And then Brian Montpellier, who is another colleague of mine who I met a few years ago back in Las Vegas at Cisco Live. And he's based over in Holland. Say good morning or hello, Brian.
Goedemorgen. Hallo Joshua, hallo Phil.
Hello Brian.
Nederlands.
So Brian obviously speaks English and in Dutch as well. And what we're highlighting here today within Webex is the ability to take closed captioning, which is real time, and as a viewer and user, and using a video endpoint here from Webex, Cisco, change the closed captioning language. So as you see over here, captions are on, or I can turn them off, and then I can select English and a multitude, I think over 150 different languages, including actually, ironically enough, Dutch, because we have a Dutchman on the line, as we said. And now, as you can see, everything that's spoken in English is now changing over in real time to Dutch. Now, again, because we are recording this meeting, we have the ability to output a text transcript of everything that is spoken, which again can be utilized by any one of those various different languages, which is very convenient. So in addition to this, we have another feature which would allow for a live interpreter and translator to be involved. Josh, do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so this is great. Hey Brian, nice to meet you. This is great when somebody like Brian is joining the meeting, and now we know that the Dutch are very well versed in English. That's not an issue, but that's not always the case, right, Brian? I mean, you have meetings with folks that in French that are mostly French speakers, I would assume, and mostly German speakers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I speak German as well. That's
good. A good European.
Ja, I speak. Ja, en niet veel mensen spreken Nederlands, dus wij Nederlanders moeten heel veel talen leren, omdat we anders niet te verstaan zijn. So therefore we speak a lot of languages, because if nobody in the world speaks Dutch, and almost everybody speaks English or German or French.
So what we have with Webex is a great way for somebody who maybe speaks a little bit of both languages and can understand, but wants a little bit of help in their native language. So here, if Brian was less of an English speaker, but he was very strong Dutch or German, he could take the closed captioning, change it to his strongest language. And then as we had the meeting, he would be listening to us in English, but then he'd be able to look at the bottom and say, oh, that's what they were talking about. Oh, I misunderstood that one word they said in English, but when it translates it for me, now I understand it in my language, and it keeps that person up to date in the meeting. But another facet that we have here that's included, Brian, is the ability to, in your meeting, turn on interpreter services. And with interpreter services, what you're saying is, I need a whole separate channel for people to be able to listen in their language, and I'm going to hire somebody to come in and speak on that channel to them. I'm actually going to have them interpret. So that interpreter, very much like the UN, would sit there with the headset on. You would designate them as an interpreter in the app. So when you look at your participants, you would say, Phil is an interpreter. Now Phil is going to go into the language that you've designated for Phil. Say it's Spanish. He will listen to this meeting in English. And then when he speaks, he interprets live into another channel. Then when people join the meeting, they can choose to join that channel instead of the main channel. And when they're in that channel that is Spanish, they'll hear Phil, even though you, Brian, and I will be talking to each other in English. And maybe you'll even have your closed captioning in Dutch so you can understand what's going on better. In the meantime, Brian is on the Spanish channel, hearing us talk, speaking into that channel into Spanish. And then your guests are joining, and when they join the Spanish channel, because that's where they're actually going to be able to understand. So with the two functions together, you have one way to assist people that maybe are not that strong in a particular language, and at the same time, you have a way to assist people who cannot speak that language whatsoever. And as a question, how much does that come up, where you're in multiple meetings and maybe you actually have to schedule two meetings, where one meeting is where you talk about it in one language, and then you have a follow-up meeting where you speak with groups from the other country in another language, and you kind of summarize what happened in the first meeting.
Ja, ik kan het in het Nederlands zeggen. Ik zag trouwens, de Engelse ondertiteling is fantastisch. When we have meetings with our customers, when we go back to English, when we have meetings with customers, it's in one language. And even though with Cisco in the Netherlands, I have team members who are in my account team from different countries, from Poland, from Portugal, from South Africa. But because they are a lot of time already in the Netherlands, they understand Dutch. So what we often do is we have the meeting in Dutch because they understand the Dutch, but they react or they respond to the customers and to us in English. That's what we do as well.
Right.
So because sometimes customers, they prefer to speak Dutch. When they're native Dutch, they prefer to speak Dutch. And it's not that they don't speak English, but because we have to. We have to speak English to understand the rest of the world. But they prefer, because it's more comfortable, it's the first language, it's the native language, they prefer to speak Dutch. And therefore, we facilitate them that we have the meeting in Dutch, and we also have we only have certain sentences, certain reactions in English.
In English,
so
I had a similar experience. I worked at a French company, and when I would speak with the engineering teams in France, most of the meeting would turn into French. I was the only English speaker. So I would say to them, don't wait for me. I can kind of pick up what's going on because I know some Spanish well, and it's tech terms. So it was easier for me to keep up sort of in French than to slow them all down and make them speak in English for me. And at the time, this would have been great. They could have hosted the meeting in French. I could have had the translation happening in English. My ear would have caught what I would have understood already in French to a certain degree, but then I would have been able to read the rest of the meeting and then inject my own opinion either by texting somebody or actually saying, 1 second, guys, did you just say this? They would then say, yeah, we talked about that. And I could give my opinion. So it's that host language, and making it the most comfortable really speeds up those meetings. You could have all those in Dutch, and then your other folks could, your Germans, your Poles, they could have it being translated in their native language to make sure that they understand what's going on as parents.
That's perfect.
Well, you guys have done a great job here. I know, Josh, we've had some customers here in our area, whether it's school systems that have kids and the kids or even the parents are maybe English as a second language, right? And they have board meetings and they need to be able to reach the citizens. We have counties and cities that would like to be able to offer something that helps them connect better with the people that are living in their area, right? And offering them services, as well as even higher ed. And then, of course, as you just said, Josh, in your example, any countries that are doing business internationally with either internal employees, vendors, or of course their customers as well. And as we know, the world is requiring us to be more customer experience focused. And this is just another thing that Webex can bring and add to a customer and what they can offer. So, and it brings us all together in a more humanistic, connected world where otherwise over the last 2 years, especially through virtual meetings, it's just been lacking. So I think the first generation of hybrid working was just turning on our cameras and connecting with facial expressions. But now we need to do it from a linguistic point of view. And again, you get that through Webex. So I want to say thanks to everybody for watching. I want to say thank you to both of you. Brian, I sure look forward to being able to shake your hand again and getting caught up and being able to see you maybe in Las Vegas and maybe leaving some money back there again. But wishing you...
I always win.
You always win. It's been a pleasure. Brian, you're finishing your day. Josh, you and I are starting ours. So with that, I will say adieu, and you guys have a great day. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Nice to meet you, Brian. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.